So yesterday was the world's Holocaust Remembrance Day. Once a year, the world remembers the Holocaust. Well, to me, each and every day, and many Jews around the world, each and every day is Holocaust Remembrance Day. That's why when I do my YouTube videos about the new covenant being for Israel, I wear this yellow star in honor and remembrance of the Jews who fell at the hands of the Japhetic Gentiles in Nazi concentration camps. And interestingly enough, I've been getting correspondence on Bitchute, on the Bitchute website, with one of these white supremacists, as he calls himself, claiming that the Jews are not really Jews, but that the white people of Europe and the United States are. And I told him that he got that nonsense from a man by the name of Herbert W. Armstrong. And there are reasons I know this. I have studied the lies of Cyril the Catholic, where all of Christianity, 100% of Christianity, gets its false narrative about the Antichrist. I've studied that, and I've proven it to be opposite of the truth. I have studied the narrative of Walid Shoebat, Joel Richardson, and their likes, their ilk, and I have proven that to be wrong with just plain simple facts. And of course, I also had studied Herbert Armstrong's United States and Great Britain in Prophecy, and proven it to be false as well. I want to get started with this fellow claims that, maybe I'll go to Bitchute and see if I can find, it's not pulling up. For some strange reason, it's not pulling up. Okay, so he claims that the people of Shem were white people, just like Herbert W. Armstrong did. There's several glaring problems with that narrative. One is Iran. And so what I'll do is I'll go to Bible Hub, Sons of Shem. Okay. Sons were also born to Shem. This is in Genesis 10 and verse 21. See, there are some things, there's some glaring truths that cannot be escaped. It cannot be tampered with because the evidence is so glaring. Verse 21. And unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born, the children of Shem, Elam, the firstborn. Who is Elam? Let's look it up. Okay. What is it? Father of Persians. Alright. Here we go. Elam. See that? Elam. Was an ancient civilization centered in the far west and southwest of modern-day Iran, stretching from the lowlands of what is now Khuzestan and Liam province. Okay? Now, it says Elam was a part of the early urbanization of the Near East during the Chalcolithic period, the Copper Age. Okay. But that was the original Persia. Okay? You can go scroll through all this here. And it goes, I mean, you can bear with me here, folks. Okay. The various Assyrian empires which had been dominant force in the Near East, Asia Minor, and Caucasus, North Africa, Arabian Peninsula, and Eastern Mediterranean for much of the period of the first half of the 14th century began to unravel after the death of Ashurbanipal in 627 BCE, descending into a series of bitter internal civil wars which also spread to Babylonia. The Iranian, Mede, Parthian, Persians, and Sagittarians. So, the Iranians are Medes and Persians, but mostly Persian. Okay? This is the Achaemenid Empire. And I think I will probably have to, wow, this thing is much longer than I thought. I should have referenced it first. Okay? But anyway, I will continue. Elam, Ashur. Now this man claims that Assyria are the Germans. That's how I knew that he got his white supremacist doctrine from Herbert W. Armstrong. Because that's exactly what he claims in his book, United States and Britain in Prophecy. Yet, there are only a few 100,000 Assyrians on the earth today. And they are not light-skinned with blonde hair, as Adolf Hitler claimed the real master race would be. So, who are the Assyrians today? they are Christians in Syria. Syria. They're a small minority now of Middle Eastern people. Okay? So, in Iraq, there are 150,000 to 202,000. Or, yes. We have all the evidence right here. And there are 3,000 to 4,000 Assyrians in the United Kingdom. So how many Assyrians are there in Germany? The immigrant community of people of Assyrian descent in Germany is estimated at 100,000 people. I'm a little surprised that there are that many. But that's a small, tiny number. You cannot say that Germany is Assyria. So let's look at what an Assyrian looks like. Okay, these are Assyrian women. All right? Do they look like they are white to you? Not to me. Let's look at some more pictures of Assyrians, if we can find them. Ah, here we go. Look at this. Do these people look white to you? They're not white in the classical sense. Neither am I. Now, this light that shines on me makes me look rather pink. For some strange reason. I really don't care. But if I had a picture, I could go and look through my... one day I just might, for the sake of argument, look through my youth pictures and show you that the only difference in my skin color between myself and these guys is mine had a little bit of more red in the complexion. Darkness was about the same, and my hair was a little bit lighter. But my skin color, in contrast to my hair, was shocking when I was younger. Anyway, so let's look at Persians. So Persians are of Elam, or Elam, yes. We can, of Elam. Oh. Maybe that'll get it better. Okay. Its culture played a crucial role during the Persian Achaemenid dynasty that succeeded Elam, when the Elamite language remained among those in official use. Okay? Now, what fool said the Elamites were not Iranians, nor were they Semitic? You see, these lies have now penetrated the internet when I just showed you, right here, Shem. The firstborn of Shem was Elam. That's the father of the Persians. Wow, I cannot believe this. So in this right here, the Times maps the history of Elam, Iran before Persia. There you have it. All right. Now let's look at, we looked at Assyrians. Go check. Assyrian. We looked at them. There might be like 300,000 of them on the earth today and 100,000 in Germany. And they are non-white. They're not white. Okay? We looked at, we'll look at this. Iranians. Let's have a look at these Iranians
I'll be grabbing life by the camel.
And let's see what this, I forgot what his name is.
Stop, yeah, cut the camera. I'm learning a lot about Iran. Having a great time. I'm glad I came here.
Iran as a country is complicated, but during this series, my aim is to set aside international politics and get to know a different side of this country. The Iran that never finds its way into media headlines.
The media thinks that Iranian people hate the foreigners, but it's not like that. It's in our culture.
All right, here is a white man having dinner. His wife is the camera lady with a Persian Elamite, Shemite woman. As you can see, so far the people of Shem are not white in the classical sense. You will find here and there some that could pass for white. Now we're going to look at Syrians. Now, Syrians are slightly different because some Syrians can pass for white, but most can't. Okay? Syrians, by the way, came from Aram. Aramaean. Now, where did Abraham come from? Abraham came from, as I understand, a cross of these two lines. Or he came from Arphaxad, and Jacob's Jacob's mother was a Syrian. That's right. Rebecca was a Syrian, was a single word, Syrian. All right? Aram is Syrian. Now, let's go look at some Syrians. Let's go look at some pictures of Syrians. Now, as I told you, Syrians are just a tiny little bit different. Some can pass as white, but most cannot. So as you see right here, she could almost pass for white, but obviously he can't. All right? You see this? You see how a little bit lighter they are, but many of them are still just as dark as Persians and Assyrians. Now, this whole notion of Herbert Armstrong's is that somehow that Ham was the father of black people, that Japheth was the father of all the, as these white supremacists say, slanted-eyed people, and that Shem was the father of white people. That is where that false narrative came from. Herbert W. Armstrong. And by the way, Garner Ted Armstrong, his son, accused his father of committing incest with his daughter. So if you want to go ahead, if you want to run with Herbert Armstrong's narrative, you do so at your own peril of being a laughingstock, all the way down to feeling the wrath of Jehovah at the return of the Moshiach. All right. Now, so this begs the question of why are so many Jews semi-light-skinned? Because why? I want you to look at the Syrians again, and as you can see, many of them are quite light-skinned. See, because Rebecca, the wife of Yitzhak, was a Syrian. And because Rachel, Leah, and the two handmaids were also Syrian. Now, Jehovah makes a statement here. Which one is it? Right here in Deuteronomy 26. And it shall be, when you are come into the land, wherein, not the Lord, Jehovah. And that's one way to tell a fake from truth, is in translations. Strong's Concordance says Jehovah correctly, so you should use Strong's Concordance when you're studying the Bible. If you don't use Strong's Concordance, you will buy the false narrative every single time. Which Jehovah, not your God, but Elohim, gives unto you for inheritance to possess it and to dwell therein, that you shall take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which you will bring to the land, which you shall, not bring to the land, but when you go into the land that Jehovah Elohim gives you, and you will put it in a basket, and you shall go into the place which Jehovah Elohim shall choose, and that place was later called Jerusalem, to place his name there. And you shall go to the priest in that day, and say unto him, I profess this day to Jehovah Elohim that I am come unto the country which Jehovah swore to our fathers to give to us, and the priest shall take of the basket out of your hand and set it down before the altar of Jehovah Elohim. And these are the words that you shall say before Jehovah Elohim. A Syrian, an Aramean, Syrian, ready to perish, was my father when he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and they became a great nation, great, mighty, and populous. Now, just to prove a point, we're going to look at Egyptian. Egypt, sons of Ham. This is not a good... Okay, so these are Egyptian actors right here. It's, Egypt's problem with color. What does that mean? They want to try to create controversy of what ancient Egyptians looked like. They were the same color as the other folks in the Middle East, by and large. Sons of Ham. Henry, are you suggesting that some of the sons of Ham were the same color as the sons of Shem? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying that the facts speak for itself. Now here's an Egyptian family. There you go. This is a good one. All right? They look just like every other Middle Eastern family. All right? How about these? You can hardly tell the difference. Yes, it is true. There are some among them that are a little bit darker. You see. Now, among the sons of Japheth, not all of them were white. You see, folks, Armenians cannot be disputed as sons of Japheth. Let's have a look. All right. These sons of Japheth are not white in the classical sense. Who were the white people? The white people were one branch of the sons of Japheth who came from Gomer, where the name German came from. White people, in the classical sense, I always qualify that because, you see, there will be some among the Egyptians, a few, that are lighter skin and color that can pass off for white. There are some among the Syrians, the Assyrians. There are even some among the Egyptians that can pass off as white. See, this is not as cut and dry as you Herbert Armstrong followers think it is. But anyway, I'm about to get off the track here. All right. So, if it is written in Deuteronomy, you're supposed to go to Jehovah and tell him a lie or tell him a truth. My father was an Aramean, a Syrian, ready to die. I would say you better tell him the truth. And to you white supremacist Herbert Armstrong followers, you might want to just go ahead and watch this whole video and take a look at the firstborn son, firstborn children of Shem, and eat your hearts out. They are not white. Ha 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 ha. Checkmate. All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a beast. I've talked extensively about this first beast. Okay? Let me see here. Let's go to Strong's Concordance. I stood upon the sand of it says Thalassa, but it would be the Mediterranean Sea. And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, the seven heads were essentially the Claudius Julio, oh, I can't remember the word, dynasty, the Julio-Claudius dynasty, essentially, okay? And of course, the seventh, the eighth was not of the seven. All right. And the 10 horns were 10 crowns, and it is widely accepted among many of the Protestant Christians who they are. And you can look up the 10. Even Herbert Armstrong, he called them the 10 nations of Europe, because you see, he said the United States and Britain were Ephraim and Manasseh, or Manasseh and Ephraim, or something like that. All right? Look. I have to look at, let's see here. I don't. When you look at this, when you look at websites like this, they have no, let's see, I cannot find, they have no referencing at all, nothing. So you can't use websites like this. So let's look at this here. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find. There we, no, that's, but this is not the entire list, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but this is a grouping of sorts here. The Vandals were a group of them, but and the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths count at as they were also in Sweden. This is not a good one at all. Let's see here. Let's do like this here. The 10 toes. See if we can find it. Why can't I scroll this up and down? There we go. Now this is not a perfect, they admit that it's not a perfect picture of the 10 kingdoms because it was so long ago. You have to put Huns in parentheses here. Ostrogoths, Visigoths, Franks, Vandals, Suevi, Burgundians, Heruli, Anglo-Saxon Kingdom, and Langobards, or Lombards. All right, so I see it should be Alemanni as first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So, and even right here, they admit, in harmony with 7 leading commentators, the author includes the Huns as one of the 10 kingdoms, others with historical precedent, named the Alemanni or the Germans instead of the Huns, and that would be correct. All right? Now, the 3 horns uprooted by the little horn, Uriah Smith wrote, the position is here confidently taken that the 3 powers or horns plucked up by the roots were Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths. And this position rests upon reliable historical data. Odoacer, the leader of the Heruli, was the first of the barbarians who reigned over the Romans. From this historical testimony above cited, we think it clearly established that the 3 horns plucked up were the powers named, the Heruli. And this is, now they have dates to prove it. You can't get around it. European, white Europeans were Gentiles. AD 493, the Vandals in 534, and the Ostrogoths finally in 553. Though effective opposition by the latter to the decree of Justinian ceased when they were driven from Rome by Belisarius in 538, as stated on page 127. And this was done by the man at the Vatican who calls himself Pope. Then you go to is it Daniel? Okay. So let's start here. So Daniel is telling King Nebuchadnezzar the meaning of his dream. They had to tell him his dream first because he forgot his dream. You saw, and there was a great image. The great image was bright and excellent, and it stood before you, and the form was fearful. The image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arm of silver, and his belly and his thighs of brass, and his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. And you saw till a stone was cut without hands, that stone being cut out of Jerusalem, which smote the image upon its feet that were of iron and clay, and broke them into pieces. And the iron and the clay and the brass and the silver and the gold broke to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. The wind carried them away, that no place was found for them, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, Jerusalem, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and I will tell you the interpretation before the king. You, O king, you are a king of kings, for the Elah of heaven has given you a kingdom, a power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, and the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven, has given into your hand, and made you ruler over them. You are this head of gold, and after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and a third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So, the first kingdom was Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom of Babylon. The second kingdom was the Medo-Persian Empire. You can take a look at the Persians today. They are of Elam, which was the firstborn son of Shem, and they are not white. You can take a look at the Babylonians today, which are in Iraq, and they are not white. Then you go to Greece. Greece, Yavan, is the son of Japheth. Yavan, or Yawan, is the fourth son of Noah's son, Japheth. All right? This is known to be the ancestor of the Greeks. And when you go and read the Bible, you can look it up actually. Watch this. Watch Sons of Greece. Whoa, what happened? Oh, we got bad internet here. Well, I live on the East Coast and we got turbulence coming. Wow. So it'll be Zechariah 9. This is what we'll do. We'll go to Zechariah 9. I don't know why Strong's Concordance is not pulling up. That's very interesting. Maybe it's the website. All right. So, the great war between the sons of Zion and the sons of Greece. Greece, you got to remember, is the father of Western civilization, the philosophy of Greece. That's all of Western civilization. When I say that figuratively speaking, because they're the ones who started Western civilization. Greece, with the third beast, or the third section of that image we just read about here, okay? Now, down here, he's going to bend Yehuda as the bow, and load that bow with Ephraim, and raise up your son Zion against your sons, O Greece. But it says Greece, what it said right here, Yawan or Yavan, son of Japheth. So I'm almost lost my place here. Let's go back to Daniel. So it says, a third kingdom of brass, that would be the Grecian Empire. The fourth kingdom will be strong as iron, that would be the Roman Empire. For as much as iron shatters to pieces and shatters everything, now, the Greeks are not white in the classical sense, but the fourth beast is Rome and the 10 kingdoms, Germanic kingdoms. Breaks, shatters, and shatters, and crushes, and crushes, and crushes, and shatters, and shatters, and shatters. And in the last days, when the kingdom comes back to Zion, who will be having dominion just before that time, just at that time? The kingdom of iron. Western civilization. White people. And whereas you saw the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. It is divided. Take a look at NATO. We're about ready, NATO is about ready to go to war with Russia. Then suddenly, Croatia decides, we're not participating in it. Not on our territory. Then Germany decides they're not participating either. I hope you guys are paying attention to what's going on around you. There shall be in it the strength of the iron, without a doubt. Nuclear weapons all over the place. For as much as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay, and the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. My, oh my, oh my, how Western civilization today is so strong, but so weak. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, it shall come to pass, seed of men. Now, King James put in there, shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. What it's saying is, iron mixed with miry clay, the seed of men will come to pass. This will be a day of race mixing. But not only that, intermingling, where the white people went and dragged the black Africans out of their place in Africa, brought them over as slaves, and when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, before he was assassinated, what he was going to do, his plan was to ship them all back to Africa. Some people get triggered by that particular statement. It's not my problem that you get triggered by it. It's just a fact. That was his plan. And so the Vice President, Andrew Johnson, decided that he was going to follow through on the plan, and somehow he got impeached, and with the vote of one senator was able to remain president, and the transportation of the Africans back to Africa did not follow through. Very likely partly fulfilling the words of this prophecy. And so multiculturalism eventually made its way to the United States and to Europe, and this is essentially what it means, multiculturalism. The doctrine of multiculturalism, they mingled themselves with the seed of men. The Euros did. The sons of Japheth did this. But they shall not cleave to one another, because iron does not mix with clay. So that's a marker. And in those days, in the days of those kingdoms, in those days, right here, shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to another people. But it shall break in pieces and consume all those kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as you saw that the stone that was cut out of the mountain, the stone was Yehoshua HaMoshiach, not your fake Jesus Christ, the idol, the sun idol of the Celts and Gauls, who was born on December 25th, 834 BCE. No. But the real one who was born on Shavuot, Common Era 0. He was cut out of Jerusalem, Mount Zion, without hands, and that broke into pieces, the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. And the great Elah made known to the king that it shall come to pass hereafter, the dream is certain, and the interpretations are to be trusted. Dead on accurate. Now, it is up to each and every one of you to do your studying. I am probably the poorest communicator in other languages on the face of the earth. Or one who doesn't have brain damage, but I'm just saying of the English-speaking people who speaks plain English. I'm one of the sorriest people when it comes to being bilingual. That does not give me any excuse to understand, or the lack of understanding, what the scripture is saying. Why? Because I have Strong's Concordance right in front of me. All I have to do is click Strong's, and you saw me do this over and over and over again. So, the handwriting on the wall. Daniel 5 and verse 5, in the same hour came forth, and what was going on? Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before 1,000. And he was tasting the wine, and commanded them to bring the gold and the silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple. Now, the golden vessels. No. The great menorah. And other things were taken out of the temple in Jerusalem by the Romans. Okay? They're still there, hidden somewhere. He told him to bring out the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem, so that the king and the princes and the wives and the concubines might drink from. And they brought the golden vessels which were taken out of the temple, out of the house of Elohim, or out of the house of Elah, which was in Jerusalem. And the king and his princes and his wives and his concubines drank in them. And they drank wine and praised the idols, the Elah of gold and silver and of brass, the graven images. You know, the ones that you Christians bow down to every Sunday. Those. And of iron, and of wood, and of stone. And at the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of his hand that he wrote, and the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts had troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosened, and his knees smote one against the other. The joints of his loins were loose, which means he took a shit in his pants. It scared him so badly. He literally shat his pants, or his robe. And the king cried aloud to bring the astrologers, the Chaldeans, or the Chaldean soothsayers. And the king spoke and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing, and show me the interpretation thereof, shall be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold about his neck, and he will be third in line to the kingdom. Then came in all the king's wise men, they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then the king Belshazzar was greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Why couldn't he understand what was written? Because he couldn't understand Hebrew. That's why. Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lords, came out to the banquet house. And the queen spoke and said, O king, live forever. Let not your thoughts trouble you, neither let your countenance be changed. There is a man in your kingdom in whom the spirit of the Kadesh Elah, the holy Elah, the real one. And in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of Elah, was found in him, whom King Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, your father, made great over the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, the Chaldean soothsayers, forasmuch an excellent, preeminent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams and showing of hard sentences, riddles, and dissolving of doubts was found in that same Daniel, who the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show you the interpretation. Then was Daniel brought in before the king. And the king spoke and said unto Daniel, Are you Daniel, which are of the children of the captivity of Yehuda, or Yehud, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry, out of Yehud? I have heard that the spirit of Elah is in you, and that the light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in you. And now the wise men and astrologers have been brought in before me, that they should read his writing, and make known unto me the interpretation thereof, but they could not interpret this thing. And I have heard of you, that you can make interpretation that have dissolved doubts, or loosen riddles. Now if you can read the writing, and make known to me the interpretation thereof, you shall be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold about your neck, and you shall be third ruler in the kingdom. And Daniel answered and said before the king, Keep your gifts to yourself. What preacher today would do what Daniel did? Keep your gifts to yourself. Show me one. And give your rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make them known the interpretation. The writing was in Hebrew. These people did not understand Hebrew writing. You see, Jehovah Elohim did not bother to write it in Farsi. No. Which means he's not going to bend to your wishes, oh white Christians. He's not going to do it. He's not going to bend to your wishes. He is not going to change his promises to fit your narrative. In order for the king to understand what was about to happen, he had to call in a Yehud. O king, the highest, Elah, gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all the people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him, whom he would slay, whom he would keep alive, and whom he would set up, and whom he would tear down. But when this heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne. And his glory was taken from him, and he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like unto the beasts, and his dwelling was like a wild donkey. Y'all should read that particular passage, where it was 7 years. And they fed him with the grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, until he knew that the Most High Elohim ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will. And you, his son, O Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, even though you knew all this. O Christian, O haughty Christian ecclesia, who wears a crown on her head and thumbs her nose down at the Jew. You speak evil of the Jew daily. You committed atrocities against the Jew. Calling them rats. Loading them up into boxcars. Throwing them into gas chambers, burning them alive. And you white supremacists have glee in your heart over these things. You have not humbled your heart. Though you knew all this, but you have lifted up yourself against Jehovah, Elohim, the Moreh, the Master of heaven. And you, Rome, still have the vessels of the temple, the menorah, the great menorah, the history of the taking of the great menorah from the temple is inscribed on the Arch of Titus. And the man at the Vatican knows where it is. You brought the vessels of his house before you, and your lords, your wives, and your concubines have drunk wine in them, and you have praised graven images of silver and gold, of brass, wood, and stone, which cannot see, nor hear, nor know the Elah, in whose hand your breath is, and who are all your ways. You have not glorified him. But instead, you've done the opposite. Judensau. German for Jew sow is a folk art image of Jews in obscene contact with a large sow, in which Judaism is an unclean animal, that appeared during the 13th century in Germany. In some other European countries, its popularity lasted for over 600 years, and some of them are still in existence today. Where did it start? The image appears in the Middle Ages, mostly in carvings on churches or cathedral walls, often outside, where it could be seen from the streets, for example, at Wittenberg and Regensburg in Germany. But also in other forms. The earliest appearance seems to be from the underside of the wooden choir stall seat in Cologne Cathedral, in a Catholic cathedral, a renowned monument of German Catholicism and Gothic, Gog and Magogians, architecture. Anyway, dating to around 1210. The earliest example in stone dates to 1230, and it's located on the cloister of the cathedral at Brandenburg. In about 1470, the image appeared in a woodcut form and thereafter was copied in popular prints, often with anti-Semitic commentary, which you, white supremacists, love that commentary. You love that engraving, that graven image, and the wall paintings. A wall painting on the bridge tower of Frankfurt am Main, constructed between 1475 and 1507 near the gateway to the Jewish ghetto and was demolished in 1801, was an especially notorious example included in the scene of ritual murder of Simon the Trent. Now the city of Wittenberg contains a Judensaal from 1305, once again, Catholic, on the facade of the Staatskirche, the church where Martin Luther, the father of all Protestantism, all of it, preached. It portrays a rabbi who looks under the sow's tail and other Jews drinking from its tits. An inscription reads, Rabbini Shem Hach Meforesh. He knew what that meant. He knew what that meant. It was a slander of the holy name. You Christians did worse than the king of Babylon. Worse. You commit blasphemy and you slander the name. Gibberish, as they say, which presumably bastardizes Shem Hach Meforesh. What is Shem Hach Meforesh? Well, to you white supremacists out there, I probably shouldn't tell you, but I will. It means the holy name. It means the actual name. That's what it means. That's exactly what it means. Shem means name. Hach means the. And Meforesh means explicit. It bastardizes. The whole inscription bastardizes the explicit name Jehovah. The sculpture is one of the last remaining examples in Germany of medieval Jew baiting in 1988 on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Kristallnacht debate sprung up about the monument, which resulted in the addition of a sculpture recognizing that during the Holocaust 6 million Jews were murdered under the sign of the cross. "6 million Jews. People I stand by who are my brothers and sisters. You Christians, you Christians are guilty of their blood. Even you know this. Just like Belshazzar knew what he was doing was wrong. In Martin Luther's book was a book written by German Reformation leader Martin Luther in 1543 in which he equates Jews with the devil and described them in vile language. And the title of his book with the picture is Absolute Blasphemy, and all you Protestant Christian religions, all of you, are followers of him. All of you. He comments on the Judenstyle sculpture in Wittenberg, echoing the anti-Semitism of the image. All you white supremacist, anti-Semite people, you can sit there and you can lie and say that the Jews are not real Semite. I have destroyed all of your arguments. Every one of them. Throw another one at me, I'll destroy that one too. Shemites are not white in the classical sense. I proved it today. I proved it. You've got nothing. And he says, Luther comments on the Judenstyle sculpture of Wittenberg, echoing the anti-Semitism of the image, locating the Talmud in the sow's bowels. And this is what, quoting him, here in our church at Wittenberg, a sow is sculpted in stone, young pigs and Jews lie suckling under her. Beside the sow, a rabbi is bent over the sow, lifting up her right leg, holding her tail high and looking intensely under her tail into the Talmud, as though they were reading something acute, extraordinary, which is certainly where they get their holy name, explicit name. The father of all Protestantism made a statement that the one who the Jews worship, whose name is holy and never to be tampered with, is found in the bowels of the sow. And you think, you Christians think, that you're going to escape wrath? It is your duty to know your origins, where it came from, and what your Christian fathers, so-called fathers, did and said. And no, Yehoshua HaMashiach did not start Christianity. Christianity started in 834 BCE by the Irish and the Druids. You can look it up. I've already given you the ways to find the truth. So all of Christianity has cursed themselves. And so we go back to Daniel 5, and we see, you have not praised the Elohim, you have praised the Elah of silver and gold, of brass, iron, and wood and stone, which see not, nor hear not, nor know anything. Graven image. This is what you've done. Let's see. This is a perfect example. Right there. This is what they've done. This is what you Christians done. I can't even. It's on all your churches and Sunday, everywhere. And even the Seventh-day Adventists. Daniel 5. But you Christians, you did worse. You did worse than the king of Babylon did. The Elah whose hand your breath is in, and who are in the whole a way, you have not glorified it. You have not in any way glorified him. There was punishment coming for what him refusing to glorify Jehovah Elohim. You Christians done worse, far worse. So your punishment is going to fit the crime. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, Mene, Tekal, Upharsin. And what does it mean? These are all Hebrew words. Mene means a measure of weight. Measure of weight. Tekal means, once again, to weigh. Coming from shakal, weighed in a balance. A weight in a balance. Upharsin, to divide, to break in two. Your kingdom will be divided in two. And so how did Daniel interpret this? This is the interpretation of this thing. Meaning, measure of weight. He has numbered your kingdom and finished it. The end of your kingdom. Tekel. You are weighed in the balance, and you are found lacking. Upharsin, or Perez, to divide. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Paras, Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And that very night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain, and Dariash, I can't even know how to say that. The Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So to Christianity today, since you are 3 or 4 times worse than the king of Babylon, since you chose, since the Crusades, to murder, pillage, and rape, and burn alive the Jews, and to desecrate the holy name, the explicit name, and replace it with the name of the idols of Gog and Magog. You are weighed in the balance, and you are found wanting. Your kingdom will be destroyed, and it will be given to Yehoshua Hach Moshiach. Israel shall be saved, as is written in Romans Romans 11. Verse 25, for I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery. You Christians never, ever considered it. Lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part, or partial blindness, happened to Israel until the time is filled up of the Gentiles. The Gentiles to come. When the time of the Gentiles is finished. Just like he says right here. Elohim has numbered your kingdom and completed it. Finished it. It's over. Finished it, completed, filling up. Like an hourglass. The time has run out, Gentiles. And what happens now? Once the time has run out, the kingdom will be taken from the Gentiles. And so all Israel shall be saved, because it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away unholiness from Jacob. Because this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. Now we go to Daniel 2 again. I think it's Daniel 2. No. Be Daniel 7. Here we go again with the 4 beasts. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions upon his head. And he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. And was told the sum of the matters. And Daniel spoke, and I saw the vision by night. And behold, 4 winds came up from this heaven, and strove against the great Yam, that would be the Mediterranean Sea. The beasts out of the Mediterranean Sea, just like a prophecy of Joseph. These are figures. Okay? The 4 great beasts came up from the sea, one different from the other. The first was like a lion. Well, we just read about the first beast, or the first, the head of gold. That was Nebuchadnezzar, and had eagle's wings. And I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked off. That was when he was sent into the field for 7 years as a jackass, a donkey. And then after 7 years it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon a feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it, Nebuchadnezzar. And another beast, a second, like unto a bear. It was raised up on one side, and had 3 ribs in its mouth, of between the teeth of it, and they said unto it, Arise and devour much flesh. That was the Medo-Persian Empire. After this I beheld, and behold, another like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of the fowl. That would be the 4 generals of Alexander the Great, the Grecian king. When he died suddenly at a young age, his kingdom was dispersed among his 4 generals. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given unto it. And after I saw the night visions, and behold, a 4th great beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. And it devoured and broke in pieces, shattered, and it stamped the rest with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. I just showed you what the 10 horns were. And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. We just read about that. The man at the Vatican did that to the Visigoths, the Heruli, and the Vandals. Gives dates. You saw it. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. And I continued to look, and the thrones were overthrown. The reason why you know it's overthrown, because it says so in Haggai 2, verse 20 through 22. And the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool, and his throne was like a fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. A fiery stream issued forth from before him, and myriads ministered unto him, and it says thousands and thousands, and myriads stood before him, and the judgment was set, and the books were opened. And I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words of the horn spoke, man at the Vatican, even until the beast was slain, and its body destroyed. What was the beast? 7 heads and 10 horns. And given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away from them, and their lives were prolonged for a season at a time. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the cloud of the sky, and came to the Ancient of Days in Jerusalem. And they brought him near before him. And there was given unto him a dominion, a glory, and a kingdom, that all people, Gentiles, and languages should serve him, and his dominion an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in the spirit, and in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me, and I came near unto the one that stood by, and asked him the truth of all of this while he was in his vision. So he told me, and he made known the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are four kingdoms, which shall arise out of the earth. But in the end, the Kadesh, that is the Jews, that is Israel. This promise cannot be broken. Of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. And I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured and broke in pieces, and stamped the rest with his feet. And the 10 horns that were on his head, and of the others which came up before, of whom 3 fell. That would be the man of the Vatican. Even that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spoke these great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And I beheld that same horn made war with the saints. Now, here's the thing. The man of sin was, and I've proved it many times, was Caligula. He was the one who ordered all the synagogues, including the temple in Jerusalem, to have a graven image of himself as Zeus placed in it. He started the process, and finally Vespasian, via his son Titus, as written in Daniel 9 and verse 27, prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came. And it continued to this day, where the man at the Vatican is still prevailing against the Jews until the Ancient of Days comes. Now I say that because, you see, there are all these Catholic cathedrals all over the Holy Land and in Jerusalem. But all that will be uprooted, thrown out, and justice will be given to the Kadesh of the Most High, and the time will come that the Kadesh will possess the kingdom. Okay? Now, so is Caligula and the man at the Vatican the same? Yes. Why would I say such a thing? Well, they're both idolaters. They both call themselves the greatest. Caligula called himself the greatest of all the gods, as he said. The man at the Vatican calls himself the Father. And they both sat and sit on the imperial seat of the Caesars at the Vatican. So yes, they are one. Okay, Vatican, imperial seat of the Caesars. Let's try that. It's somewhere in here. I had done a video about this. Oh. I will have to dig it up some other time. Anyway, you will eventually, if you look for it, you'll find imperial seat of the Caesars is the seat of the so-called papacy. I think maybe I can do like this here. I'll find it some other time. I've gone past my hour limit. I'm to an hour and a half. But anyway, so you've been warned, you've been told. So here is the heart of the matter. I want you to take a look around you. Christianity, sons of Japheth, 10 kingdoms, the false prophet with the 2 horns on his head being the Western Christianity and Eastern Orthodox. You are found wanting. Your kingdom will be taken from you and is going to be given to the Jews. I don't care if you don't like what I'm saying. You can try to tell your lies on Bitchute in the comments section all you want to. All that's going to do is give me more motivation to tell you the truth. So keep on doing it. Doesn't bother me, doesn't concern me, because Christian lies are built on sand. It is a house built on sand, and when the day of trouble comes, great will be the fall of that house.